Take another look now and take some time for hemp. I know cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and of course, iHeartRadio. I want to give a big shout out to all of my friends up in Canada and say thank you to KDK Distributors for being nice enough to give us a grant to keep us loud, proud, and strong. And I also want to say thank you to all the hardworking people in America who have made it a point to share this broadcast with their friends. On the program today, it is Tuesday, and on Tuesday we like to celebrate all the hardworking people up in Canada. They are a group of diligent people who introduced industrial hemp into their economy quite some time back and have a wonderful, wonderful industry that America could look to as an example to follow. With that said, I'm going to bring on my joint host. Don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people all around the world pack their bongs, their pipes, their vaporizers, and take Time for Hemp. I'm going to introduce my joint host, KDK Distributor Founder Kelly Kristen. Kelly Kristen, good morning, Kelly.
Hello, good morning, Casper. How you doing today?
Fine. How's life in your slice?
It's awesome. The snow is gone, hopefully, for the rest of the spring here, and it's going to be like 28 here today, which is hot for us.
That's hot for you. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, sorry, that's Celsius.
And we are going to hit the trail today, and I mean that literally. Everybody out there who's listening, we are pounding the tom-toms today, getting a message out about a webinar that Time for Hemp's going to be doing once a month for a few months. And we're going to be broadcasting live once a month on a Sunday afternoon. And we're going to be starting in May. So we want our friends to make it a point to tune in and listen. And it's going to be our way of saluting the indigenous Indians all around the world. And we'll let Kelly and our joint friend on the broadcast discuss that here on Time for Hemp. Kelly?
Hello, Guy. Nice to meet you.
Hey, good morning, Kelly. Nice to meet you as well. It's a pleasure to be on this program today. And yes, it is kind of warm up here in Canada today, eh?
Hey. What's it like out there? You're a lot farther north than us.
Well, it's about, right now, it's about 14 Celsius.
Holy smokes, awesome.
So that's really hot.
That's suntan weather.
Suntan weather, yes. I'm actually walking around in my T-shirt now.
So, Sault Ste. Marie, is that where you're from?
No, this is where I'm based out of.
Okay.
This is where I'm based out of, and I've been here for the last 26 years. And funny you should ask me that question, because in the next couple of months, I'll be moving to Manitoulin Island, which is 3.5 or 3 hours east of where I'm at right now. And that's where we're going to go. Me and my wife are going to go and set up our home there and carry on with life over there. It's time for us to uproot ourselves here from Sault Ste. Marie. Our kids are up and gone. They've gone to do their own thing, and so it's just me and my wife, and so we're moving back to Manitoulin Island.
Very nice. Sounds like a great place, Manitoulin Island.
Absolutely. It's a fabulous place, yeah.
And what are you going to be doing while you're up there?
Well, you know what? I'm going to be doing the same thing that I'm doing there as I'm doing now. Thanks a lot to the technology. Thanks a lot to the internet and all the benefits that it brings. I don't need to travel as much. I don't need to spend a lot of travel time going to different places and meeting different people. All of this could be done through the different mediums that we have, with Skype or specialized providers that use the internet as a vehicle for telephone, and of course the internet itself. And we've got cell phones that we could take anywhere. I could go hunting and still have my cell phone with me, and I could put on my GPS. If I get lost, I'm not going to be too worried because I'll have my GPS on. It'll show me which way I'm at and all that kind of stuff. It's going to make me a little bit lazy, tracking the animals and the sun and the wind and that type of thing. I'm just going to look at the phone and say, okay, where am I at?
You just have to be careful that the wife doesn't call right where you're in mid shot. There, it's gonna send you a call, and you're going to get a ring just as you're about to shoot. And it's going to throw you off.
Absolutely, yes. So, looking forward to moving back there and carrying on with the same things that I'm doing now, doing educational programs. I'm a lifelong learner as well as an educator. I love engaging people's minds and thoughts and ideas and twisting them this way and twisting them that way, expanding them and looking at different ways of looking at ideas. What's been identified as paradigm shifts, and looking at different language, not only the indigenous language but also the English language. And there's certainly a lot of reason to carry on with the education, and also, not to say this too loud, but I guess I could say it, is that I'm approaching the elderhood stage, and I don't consider myself to be an elder yet. I guess you could say I am an elder in training, but I'm not an elder yet. And the role that an elder has is to educate, to inform, to inspire, to instruct, and that's something that I've been doing most of my life already anyway. And so yes, I'm going to have the opportunity to do that at my own leisure, rather than having the pressures of everyday life here to try and meet needs and all that kind of stuff. It'll be a little more of my own time doing that when I move back to Manitoulin Island.
Excellent. And one of the things we had discussed earlier was your I guess, discovery of the different aspects of cannabis besides smoking it.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I was just, as I mentioned, I was just totally ignorant about cannabis not too long ago. In fact, back in my younger days, in my late teens, early 20s, I did smoke a lot of cannabis and things like that. But after a certain point of living this lifestyle, what I call the traditional lifestyle, I totally gave it up because it's not part of what our cultural practices are. And so I've stayed away from it for many years, until every time I would hear someone talk about cannabis, or I would smell it on people's clothes or on their breath or hair, I'd say, yeah, they're smoking up, and things like that, and all these different ideas about people that use cannabis and things like that. All the misinformation and misinformation that's been fed to me through the media, through newspaper, and through other people that are just as ignorant, if not more ignorant than I was. And yeah, I was just totally out there somewhere, not really knowing anything about cannabis and totally ignorant about its many uses and advantages and all of that. So And I suddenly got a realization, or an awakening, I should say, towards cannabis when it really hit home to me. And of course, this is a personal story that I'm sharing for the first time on air. And it really hit home to me when my brother passed away in October. He had 4-stage cancer, and in his last few months, he was in extreme, extreme pain, and it just bothered me that I was observing all his pain that he was going through. And almost every hour, he was taking these synthetic painkillers that were probably harming him more than helping him. But nevertheless, it was dulling his pain enough so that he could carry on a normal basis. And but he would tell me that he was in extreme pain, but he didn't want to show it. His body was used to it, his mind was used to it. And so one day I said, "Hey, you know what? I've been talking to different people about medical cannabis. Would you mind trying that? Because I mean, you know, it ain't going to hurt you if you try it." And of course, he's of the same mind as I was. In our traditional ways, it's not part of our culture here. It is part of the Western indigenous peoples' cultures there, but not part of the central indigenous peoples here. We weren't gifted with that medicine, and so part of our teachings is not to use medicines that have not been gifted to us in our traditional ways. So he was very adamant and very strong on that as well. And so as time went on, a couple of weeks go by, and I could see that he was just deteriorating even further and further. And again, I introduced it to him, and of course, by this time, I'm up to speed as much as I could about cannabis and its uses and stuff like that. And so I talked to him about it a little bit more, and I said, you know, there's a lot of people out there that use cannabis to manage their pain. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's probably better for you than these crap synthetic drugs that you're taking. And in fact, if it were up to me, I'd probably prescribe this cannabis to you rather than all these 38, 42 pills that you're taking a day. And I can just imagine what it's doing to your intestines and your stomach and everything else. And so he says this was about 3 weeks prior to him moving on to the spirit world. He says, so he agreed. Okay, he said, okay, I'll give it a try. And he was very reluctant, but yet he said, okay, I'll give it a try. And so I made some phone calls to some people that I knew that were in the industry, specifically in the Washington State area there. And so I made a few phone calls, and I said, what do I need to get this up here? And by the time I was going through all the loopholes to get that done, my brother had already passed away. And so to me, as I think about that story, I know that my brother is not an isolated case. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that experience so much pain in their life that if this other natural drug or medicine, I should say, this natural medicine would help them cope with daily life with less pain, you know, I would support that in a heartbeat. And I know that a few of my relatives, even right now, I can think of 3 or 4 of them that are in extreme pain right now, and they know that I'm in this industry, but yet I know that they're shy to ask me about its uses and about its benefits, and I know that at some point I'm going to have to ask them if they entertain the idea of using cannabis to manage their pain. But yes, I was very ignorant of the fact about cannabis, both the medical marijuana as well as the hemp, and I knew very little about it. In fact, the only thing that I knew about hemp was I heard years ago that you could make shirts out of it, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around how you could make a shirt out of hemp. So I was just like totally ignorant, man, like, you know, and so that's that's my story about being totally ignorant up to a couple of years ago, and of course I've been educating myself as quickly and as fast as I can because it's such a vital industry for so many things that are going on right now, and I'm happy to be involved in the industry, even though I have told people that I don't pass any judgment against anyone that uses any kind of cannabis whatsoever. And in fact, jokingly, I have even said that that if I walk into a building and there's a lot of smoke going on, I don't know how long I'll be going to hold my breath, but I'm sure by the time I go to the other side of the room there, I'll probably be a little bit, I'll have a little buzz going. But, because you can't stop breathing, right? You got to keep breathing.
So, as it not being a part of your traditional medicine, obviously the pharmaceuticals were not a part of your traditional medicine either.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Very good point there. Yes, the pharmaceuticals were certainly not a part of our tradition yet, so this is what I mean by the brainwashing and the misinformation and all this crap that happens. Sorry about my language. If I'm using wrong language here, you'll have to excuse me because I get really riled up about all this stuff all the time. And I have people that say, calm down a little bit, will you? And, and so... But yes, pharmaceuticals are not part of our traditional medicines for sure, and there's no doubt about that. However, the majority of us indigenous people, Indians, have been so conditioned and brainwashed, for the last couple of 100 years about what's good for us and what's best for us. And we have so many of our indigenous people that believe all this crap that goes on. It just makes me sick, man. It's just sickening. It's sickening to my stomach to have my own people, my own relatives, my own relations believe all this crap that's being fed to them on a daily basis, and believing that these pharmaceuticals are actually doing them good. And yet, when I try to casually introduce the concept of cannabis, I'm totally shut out. I'm looked at as a demon. I'm looked at as someone that's not a part of the community or part of the tribe. I'm suddenly on the outside looking in, and like it's just twisted, man. It's just twisted. So thank you for making that point.
Yeah, no worries. It's twisted. It's not only twisted for the peoples of all races and religions. The misinformation is not totally directed towards any group, but all of us. And now, like you say, with the advent of all the media at our disposal and the ability to, for instance, us right now, for you to be in Sault Ste. Marie, me in Calgary, and Casper in Portland, here we are. We're just having a conversation all together all at the same time on Skype, and people around the world are being able to listen to us. So the misinformation is, although there's still lots of it out there, of course, on everything, all subjects and all matters, at least it's out there and we can make an informed decision. And the more information that continues to build on a weekly or on a daily basis, actually, about the good that cannabis can do, not only in medicine and to help people like your brother, but for fuel and food and clothing and paper and all kinds of stuff. To heat our homes, we can make pellets and use it in coal-fired generators. We can make cars from it. We can power the cars with it. We've got a long ways to go with this product. It's been suppressed for way too long.
Absolutely, and appreciate you saying all those things that you've just said, because that kind of sets the stage for me to perhaps talk about the webinars that we've been setting up through hempnet.org. And this is a creation between Don Land and myself, as we were talking about different ways of addressing this issue of trying to help the community that I work in specifically. And so we started talking about how can we get this message out to a diverse population without specifically concentrating on just the indigenous population, but all populations. And so this is where the idea of the webinar came into play, because Don Land has been filling me in on the different opinion leaders that are out there in the cannabis world. And I've been really honored to be introduced to several already, and getting to know who they are and what they do, and what part of the cannabis blanket that they that they address, and so with this idea of the webinars is to give an opportunity for these what I call cannabis opinion leaders, and lately I've been calling them cannabis outliers, and to give them an opportunity to tell their story, because each of the outliers has a specific story to tell, not only about the struggles and the challenges that they have faced, but also the achievements and the results that they've produced thus far. Even though there's still a majority of ignorance out there, that there's still a lot of room for the story to be told from all kinds of different angles, all kinds of different parts of the blanket, as I call it. And on the cannabis blanket, one patch or one part of it will be told, and then another part will be told on another patch or part of the blanket. Pretty soon there's going to be enough awareness, enough information out there that the fiction corporate, what I call the fiction corporate rats, ants, I should say. That slipped. That was a Freudian slip. Sorry about that. Yes, the corporate ants out there that are doing their work to try and keep everybody in place, and following their orders, and following their instructions to feed the currency to whomever is asking for all this currency to be placed into their sectors. And so having enough people informed, inspired, and educated about what cannabis is, there's so many different ways to achieve that. I mean, with this radio program here is an example of that. And I understand that there's some other outlets as well. You know, there's there's a lot of YouTube out there, and I understand that there's some television programs that specialize in the cannabis industry, and there's some schools that are emerging or have been established. So there's a lot of different people out there that are campaigning to actually put the cannabis story in its proper place, because, as you said, it's been suppressed for too long, and all the advantages and the things that are useful with cannabis. I think it's time that we start to let a lot of people know that these things exist.
I need to jump in here because it is time to let a lot of people know that they need to go and check out the sponsors who support this network, and let them know that they heard about us here on the broadcast. We're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to listen to a song about how fantastic marijuana is, and then we're going to come back and pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
Smoke. That's some wicked high grade or some gourmet up and impress. You want a lick? See the chalice happy burn. Begin happy burn. Turn. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. When me sing again, keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Turn. Wait there, yes me have to crap it. Say it's a bad habit, but it make me fly like a rocket. Too much of anything will make you an addict. Yes me feel stressed when me know have it. Come on, girl, I look good like Playboy Bunny Rapid. She smelling 250 back me have in me pocket. 2 stiff chicken want me pluck in her socket. Under me Guinness and me weak me and walk it yo. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Join him and I sing. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Rude boy from overseas, we no care, we no matter. This we get flatter, man a real tapper. Big Mac double whopper, original showstopper. No say man a rapper, but can't say man a shatter. Light out we big it, make it bone down proper. On the time we real root boy used to real shopper. This the king blow, your head pan a platter. Smoke a slip and relax, man you too lava lava. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Who don't feel listen me? Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. When me light up me chalice, say me don't fear no malice. I'm a trouble them gone. When me light up me bang in a Buckingham Palace. Good for every Tom, Dick and Harris. Good for every Michelle and Alice. From London to New York to Paris. Ganja make them feel good and spin like Ferraris. Room. Ballet the Rasta Paris. China man a real ganja man. Me now go parry no cigarettes no. Keep the ganja pipe burning. The good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. China man a sing. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man they put you stiff in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Blaze up the fire, keep it burning. 24/7, 365, we keep it alive. Keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slip in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care. When me sing again, keep the ganja pipe burning. For good sense to me, your man yearning. A ganja man, they put you slip in the air. And I wear it like you just don't care.
You are listening to Time for Hemp all around the world. We are no longer just a 1-hour broadcast, as many moons ago when we were on American Freedom Radio. We are now our own all day, all night broadcasting team. That's right, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. You can go to timeforhemp.com. Listen to us there. Find us on Tumblr, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and of course, we are the only all cannabis broadcasting network on iHeartRadio. And like a good joint, we are best when shared with friends. It is Tuesday. Happy Canada Day. Send all my love to my friends up in Canada. Remind you, we got a program on the network hosted by Al Graham called The Pace Radio Show every Monday night. Al broadcasts out of Canada, and he also is the editor-in-chief, as in chief that joint of the little news zine that we have on timeforhemp.com. You can subscribe to it. It's called Joint Conversations, and we'd like to have you check it out and share some joint conversations with all your friends. My joint host today, Kelly Kristen. Don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people all around the world pack their pipes, their bongs, their vaporizers, and twist up a joint and take time for hemp. And Kelly, I know that there's a real healthy way, if you're sick, to engage in utilization of medicinal marijuana. And it's not always an affordable item, but you sure make it affordable to people who need it. I'll let you share that with our audience.
You bet. Affordability, yes. Vaporization. Guy, I don't know, you were talking about that you've quit smoking cigarettes, which is awesome, 15 years ago. And cannabis, I guess you're not smoking cannabis. But if you've ever tried the alternative of vaporization, it's extremely very, very different than smoking. When you smoke, you're combusting. When you're vaporizing, you've eliminated combustion. So when you eliminate the combustion, you eliminate the well over 20 carcinogens that are created by just the combustion alone. So from a health perspective, it's extremely healthier than burning, whether it be in your pipe, in your bong, or rolling it in a joint. When you vaporize, it's much healthier way to consume cannabis. So what I've done, and I started my business 15 years ago with a quality vaporizer, and the first thing I thought was it would be beneficial to the medical community, to people who were consuming cannabis as medicine or for whatever their ailment may be. And a lot of these people were elderly, and a lot of them had never smoked in their entire lives. So just the idea alone of smoking cannabis was not really very appealing to them. So I knew that a quality vaporizer was an awesome device for the medical community. So I went there first. And you know what? I found out that I was right, that a lot of people in the medical community could really benefit with vaporization. What I also found out when I was there is that a lot of these people are on assisted income, on a pension, on a disability pension, on some welfare, whatever the case may be. They simply could never, ever afford a vaporizer. As a matter of fact, for a lot of them, if you know some people, Guy, I don't know how they afford to pay rent and buy food, let alone cannabis as medicine, and then think about getting a quality vaporizer is just definitely not in the equation. So I made it a point that once we became successful in the industry, or if we became successful, that we would give back, and that's where we would give back. So for several years now, we here at KDK have teamed up with the guys at Herbal Air, and we give away a Herbal Air 2.2 once every month to a medical patient, and they can be anywhere in the world. We have shipped them quite some odd locations. So wherever you are, you may be listening. If you're a medical patient and you really could use a vaporizer, it's really, really simple. All you have to do is send me an email to Kelly, Kelly, at kdkwholesale.ca. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and of course an address where we can send a free vaporizer to you if you're lucky enough to be drawn from the hat of eligible entrants. And all we ask is that you simply be a medical patient. In other words, you use cannabis as a medicine, and you could never afford a quality vaporizer. Those are the only two requirements. And I'm sure you know some people, Guy, as well as I know I do, and I know Casper does, and certainly anybody who is listening right now, either you're a patient yourself or certainly you know somebody that could benefit from a free vaporizer. So certainly let them know about the program, because I know we love to hear from you guys, and we especially love to hear about the stories we get back from some of the medical patients, because there's another benefit that a lot of people are not aware. Because it's more efficient than combustion, and you recover more of the active ingredient, you actually need to use less cannabis to attain the same thing. So it's not only healthier for the medical patient, it's also easier on the pocketbook. So it's a huge advantage to them. So hopefully we hear from some of you in the near future, because we have a lot of fun giving away free vaporizers.
And on behalf of the medical marijuana movement, Kelly, thank you so much for doing that. That is such a gracious offer that you and your team do. And we also want to let people know that the winners are listed. The name of the person drawn is listed in joint conversations each month. So make it a point to get a copy and tune in and let your friends know about this wonderful act of love. Kelly, I pass the joint conversation back to you and our joint guest here at Time for Hemp.
All righty. Well, we know what we were going to talk about. Yes, you wanted to
absolutely
touch on. If you want to continue, we can just move forward, because I think it just flows through.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you, Kelly. Certainly appreciate the story that you just told there. And yes, I know of many people that could use this vaporizer to replace the existing pharmaceuticals that they use. And that just boils my blood, man. I mean, all this stuff that we've been fed about this information, about what's good for us and what we need and what will help us and all of that. I mean, it's just kind of okay. So before I go too deep down that rabbit hole, I just wanted to mention something about the tribe that I represent. The tribe that I represent is called Wapascasine, and it's located in northern Manitoba Fiction. And it's in a place called, it's in the Praying River, High Rock, Granville Lake area. Fiction. And that's where the Wapascasine tribe comes from, and that's where I come from. And, and most of the people up there are very traditional in their own ways, and yet at the same time have to adapt to the many changes that our world offers. And there's people like myself that have wandered around Mother Earth on Turtle Island here, experiencing the many different cultures and many different ways of life itself. And the Wapascasine tribe is probably one of the more advanced tribes on Turtle Island, is willing to look at different options, different ideas to get the tribal members out of the box, as we say, because there's two laws of the land: law of the land 1, law of the land 2. Within the law of the land 1 is where it talks about Indians or Indios, and law of the land 2 talks about persons or domestic law. And most of the things that happen within Canada as a corporation is within the law of the land 2, which is domestic. And if we go across the invisible line to the United States, which is another corporation itself, it still operates within the law of the land 2 and still within the corporations. And so And I'm leading up to the idea that we've been looking at all the things that are happening at the United Nations level regarding cannabis, and it's labeled in many different ways, and more specifically been invited by Michael Krawitz to submit a response on behalf of the Wapascussinit tribe to what's been referred to as alternative development to the drug problems that are happening within the indigenous community, not only within the tribal communities on Turtle Island, but all tribal communities throughout Turtle Island, as well as on Elephant Island, which is on the other side of the world. And we're very happy to respond to the specific things that Michael had asked us to respond to in terms of what do we think about the alternative development proposal that's being discussed at the UN level on May the 7th of 2015 in New York. So we're preparing a response for that. And the Wapascussinit tribe, as I mentioned, is a lot more advanced and progressive in terms of engaging the world itself. We have a relationship with the Hmong tribe in Thailand, and we're establishing other relationship with other tribes in Australia, New Zealand, as well as out in Africa. And we also have a good relationship with our brothers down in the United States fiction. There's a lot of tribal communities there that are not part of the corporate tribal system, not the way that they're encased within the Indian Reorganization Act in the United States fiction, or the Indian Act here in Canada fiction. And so as a Wapascussinit tribe, we certainly like the idea that that we can determine who we would like to engage in different trade and commerce, who we'd like to associate with. We don't need to ask for approval or a rubber stamp or an okay or these are the rules you need to follow. We use our common sense. We know what's right. We don't need to be told by the government what's right and what's wrong. We can do that perfectly fine. We did that for thousands of years prior to the governments arriving here on Turtle Island, prior to any corporate type of culture arriving here on Turtle Island. We're doing perfectly fine. And so we don't need governments, corporate governments, telling us that this is the rules, these are the legislations, these are the laws that you need to abide by. Sure, we're going to respect them. Sure, we recognize them because we know that there's other cultures that live on Turtle Island that need those rules and regulations and those things that they have to follow. So we respect them. We're not totally discounting them. We know that they have their place. But when it comes to the indigenous peoples like the Wapascussinit tribe, we have our own ways of doing things, and we don't need anyone to interfere in our way of life any longer. It's been over a couple of 100 years now, and aren't things supposed to be good? Aren't things supposed to be well in Indian country? Take a look at Indian country, at the poverty rate, at the unemployment, at the poverty, at the violence, at the sickness, and all that crap that happens. And they're trying to tell us that Canada is the most happiest place in the world. In fact, there was a study released not too long ago that Canada was placed as the 5th country in the world that's the happiest place in the world. To me, that's just a bunch of bleep, bleep, bleep. And I think that whoever reported that didn't come into it.
Sorry.
Well,
so I totally disagree with that study.
Well, this is a good spot for us to take a commercial break at, and then we're going to pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain. For patients seeking quick pain relief, Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Well, now, chocolate cake makes my poor stomach ache, and all those pills are too much for me to take. I don't like cocaine 'cause it makes me all uptight, but coffee and reefer makes me feel alright. Crystal meth will make you high.
Yeah, coffee and reefer does make me feel all right. First thing I do when I roll out of bed in the morning, many of you know this, is I get myself a great big cup of Joe, and then Joe gets his pants on and gets dressed and goes to work. And then I get myself some coffee, get myself a joint rolled up, and I get busy in front of the computer trying to end prohibition. You need to be active. Put one foot in front of the other. Become part of the solution. Don't sit there being part of the problem. On the program today, we are celebrating all of our friends up in Canada. And all of my friends in Canada and I are celebrating the indigenous Indians all around the world. They are organizing a global webinar that's going to be helping to educate the world about the importance of industrial hemp. And I'll let my joint host and my joint guest have that joint conversation here on the Big Joint Broadcast at Time for Hemp. Kelly, Guy?
You bet.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to continue on,
Thank
Guy?
you very much
Off?
there. Absolutely. Okay, so let me talk about the webinar itself, because I think that it's important that the listeners take some time to consider these important webinars that are coming up. So far, I have 7 guests lined up, and that could mean that these webinars will carry on for at least the next 3 to 4 months. And as we proceed to unfold these webinars, there'll probably be more people that I'm going to ask to be to come and share their story. And so the first webinar is going to start on May the 17th and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you can adjust your time, that's when it's going to start. And you can go register at hempnet.org. And just go and follow the tab that says the cannabis story. And once you open that page on the cannabis story, there'll be a page that will ask you for your name as well as your email address. And that will activate an auto-response series, and you'll get a whole bunch of goodies until the webinar starts. You'll get information on who I am, my background, and what I stand for, just a snippet of that, as well as the co-host of the webinar, Don Land, his information and why he's doing what he's doing. And then you'll receive information on the guest that's going to be appearing on the upcoming webinar. So the first one that we have coming up is Michael Dumas Jensen. And he's going to be the one that's going to start off the webinars on May the 17th. And then shortly after that, whether it's going to be at the end of May, the week before, or the week after that, in the first week, the end of the first week in June, we have none other than Casper, who has agreed to be the second speaker in the webinars, followed by Steve Sarich, and then Dr. Robert Melamede, followed by Michael Krawitz, and then Mike Bowden. And then we have other people that are lined up to also come and join us in these webinars. So it's very important that you go check it out at hempnet.org and tap on the tab that says the cannabis story. The more people that we have on these webinars, the better. It doesn't cost you anything other than your time, probably 90 minutes of your time on a Sunday evening, so that you could hear the personal stories of these, what I call the cannabis opinion leaders, and lately I've been calling them the cannabis outliers, and looking at having them share, as I said, their own challenges, their own achievements, and their own brand of what they've been able to develop in their own niche within the cannabis story blanket. And it's very important for us to learn as much information as we can from all these different people that have these experiences within the cannabis story blanket themselves. And I know that there's a lot to be shared, and each of these cannabis opinion leaders that are going to be hosted on the webinars will be sharing some key information. In fact, once you hear them talk about their own personal stories, they're actually going to share one secret that they have that they would like to share with the listeners that they've never shared with anyone else or in any platform. And this will give them an opportunity to do that. And then when they share that one main idea or one main message, what are the supporting things that can be associated with that will help in implementing the understanding, the knowledge, and the wisdom that's required for us to become comfortable to make the cannabis story a normal story in everyday life, just as pharmaceuticals is a normal story in everyday life, that we want the cannabis story to become an everyday life, because I'm a true believer now that the cannabis story is a lot more better for our physical body as well as every aspect of our being than anything closely resembling the pharmaceutical benefits that industry continuously promotes on a continuous basis through billboards, radio, TV, and even in bathrooms. I mean, they're advertising everywhere.
One thing that we are continuously doing here in the big broadcast is ending one show after another. And we are down to the last hour of this big broadcast. This gives you an opportunity to give a shout out to any, like in this case, the upcoming webinar and websites that you want to direct people to. Guy?
Okay, yeah, go to hempnet.org. As well as a shout out to my my friends and family at Wapaskasina Tribe, and specifically to my customary chief and my headman, and all the grandmothers, the aunties, the uncles, the sisters. I say Ginanas Komitino Chimi Gwech, and thank you for being here.
And Kelly, any spotlight that you want to put onto an event or URL?
The Million Marijuana March is coming up on the 2nd. We're going to be there. And let's hope all of you are out there because, we need to show our solidarity around the world because there are cannabis medical patients everywhere around the world. And for all those recreational users, let's get it out of the courts and the jails and back into the control of the public. And so go out and show your support. May the 2nd.
And I want to remind people that we are a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week broadcasting network, and we are a team of people broadcasting original content each week about the need to end prohibition. We ask that you share us with your friends. You can find our Google app for free in the Google Plus store. All the apps at Tumblr and SoundCloud and iTunes and iHeartRadio are all free to download into your smartphones and handheld devices, so you can share us with your friends. You can go to our website and find All the archived programming from all of our hosts, all MP3s are also free to download and share with your friends, and that is how we are found. With that said, please make it a point to get out and get involved and get active in your community, ending prohibition and letting everybody around you know truly how important it is to take time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Daily the system grinds on our minds, yeah. Herb reconnects us to the art of time. Lies they teach, they don't educate. Oh no, herb wise eyes see and penetrate. I'm the bush mama, I promote the marijuana. It's a medicine to men, but I must mention, feel the spiritual connection when you smoke. Focus your attention. You got a problem, herb might help you solve them. Be still in the silence. Wisdom is revealed. Good intention and right action is the highest virtue. I don't wanna be hurt, I don't wanna hurt you. Come into conscious conclusions, creates peaceful solutions. I'm another one of you. I feel the things you do. Follow the smoke and let your attention drift. Keep on rising till you feel your spirit lift. Breathe deep and easy, giving thanks for your life. Banish fear and darkness, step into pure light. I'm the bush mama, I promote the marijuana. It's a medicine to men, but I must mention, feel the spiritual connection when you smoke. Focus your attention. You got a problem, herb might help you solve them. Be still in the silence. Wisdom is revealed. Pass the chalice, burn away malice, enter the universal mind. From the realm where nothing's new, multiple choices come into view. Dip into the vast knowledge pool, and when you surface you feel renewed. Space is where you make wise decisions. Time is for the art of giving. Mistakes are a part of living. Remember compassion, practice forgiving. And when you speak, seek to reach a higher ground, a place where harmony can be found. Then we'll be skanking to a brand new sound. Follow the smoke and let your attention drift. Keep on rising till you feel your spirit lift. Breathe deep and easy, giving thanks for your life. Banish fear and darkness, step into pure light. I'm the bush mama, I promote the marijuana, but I must mention
education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.